Hey, Journey family and friends, welcome to this week's edition of Midweek Conversations. Pastor John Hampton with Pastor Dustin Agard.
Hello, good to be here.
Good to see you, brother. And we're joined today by a special guest. This is Stacy Mackey.
Yes.
Stacy, welcome.
Well, thank you for having me.
So good to have you.
Stacy is on our staff at Journey. She works in food services. We'll get to that in just a moment. Hey, just let me give a shout out to my brother Dustin here. If you haven't seen his message from this past Sunday, I encourage you to go online and look at that. Dustin, great job in what you shared this past week about grit and what to do after you get stoned. And I'm just going to leave it right there. So what do you do after you get stoned? Go watch Pastor Dustin's message. That's what you need to do. But it was awesome. I hope you're joining us every day. Daily Acts. This would be day what? 15, 6, 17. Day 17 of the Daily Acts journey. So just a few more days left in this. We've heard from so many people and even got a box of cookies.
We did get a box of cookies.
How about that?
Oh.
Somebody sent us a box of cookies, and I'm talking about gourmet cookies.
I didn't know we were going to go public with that. Yeah.
Well,
we won't tell them where they're at.
You know, it may inspire.
It might
inspire generosity from other people. Someone sent us a really nice note and a box of really nice gourmet
that was
cookies.
really kind.
Because they've enjoyed all the daily teaching on that. So I'm not saying you have to do anything as you hear that, but anyhow, we appreciate it, didn't we?
Hey, speaking of snacks, we got Stacy here.
So it's
Yes.
So Stacy, tell us a little bit about what's your role here at Journey.
My role, whenever people ask me that, I said, I just cook for people. I feed people. But
Amen.
Technically,
Now, let me just say this.
Yes.
Typically, at a church, a pastor is typically like the most loved person. But when you have somebody on your staff at a church with the word food in their title, they are the most loved person. Everybody loves you on our team.
Yeah.
And it's not just because of what you do, but how you do it. You're so good at your role, and we'll get into that in a minute.
Exactly. So you help with food.
Food services. So that entails, right now it's just communion supplies, the cafe, kitchen, and then any events, and kind of any major events that involve food here.
Yeah.
So I'm under the food umbrella.
But here's the thing, though. When people say food, they think she just either orders food or, I mean, we have a commercial-sized kitchen that she runs, and I need you to imagine Pinterest, because that's what she does with food. I mean, really, she's not just serving up sloppy joes. It is Pinterest explodes with how she delivers it.
Well, a little bit of that goes to your background. You're a chef.
I am a chef, graduated from Valencia, but how I got into cooking is actually funny because my mother hated cooking.
Really? Wow.
And every chef you watch on the Food Network, they're telling stories about how they were with grandma and their mom's in the kitchen and she's teaching them and they're learning. Not my mom. We had a drawer in the kitchen that was filled with coupon booklets. So when we opened it up, okay, today this was a 2-for-1. This is kids eat free. This is the buffet.
That sounds like we got that drawer in our house.
I think a lot of people have
we got the
drawer.
same drawer, Stacey.
So on Sundays, we were, Sunday brunch. I grew up in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Okay.
So of course, dining is a thing in Vegas. Yes. So we ate out all the time. So I feel like I was weaned in a restaurant. So at some point, I just came home and I thought, I can make that. What we were eating sometimes isn't so fancy. And I thought that I could make that. And what really kind of kicked off me thinking that I had a talent in this is actually after my father passed away. And all the family got together. And instead of having a big catered event, I cooked for everybody.
Wow. How old are you at this time?
In my early 20s.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So.
And how many did you cook for then?
I would imagine about 30 people.
Okay.
So all the family members were kind of talking, saying, it's a shame that we wait till something terrible happens for us to all get together. We ought to do this again. So we scheduled it for a month later. And then we called it the Saturday night dinner thing. So we'd have friends and relatives start coming over and that first Saturday of every month. And then I had to plan it. so then I started theming it, and then every month it was a different theme. Then it's this month's gonna be Mexican, and this is gonna be Italian, and then this one's gonna be Chinese food. And so we had to actually plan it, and it became a thing. And then people were saying, well, can I bring a guest? And then ex-boyfriends were showing up with new girlfriends, and then it really just grew into this. And we did this for a couple of years until people started finally moving away with their lives. But that put the seed or the bug in my mind that I can do this. I can make food for people, and it makes people happy.
Let's give just a little bit of personal background. You're married to
Yes.
a gentleman named Rufus,
Yes.
right?
Married,
And you have 2 children,
2.
a son and a daughter, right?
Yes, 23 and 24.
23 and 24. How long have you all been in Florida?
We have been in Florida since 1999, right around there.
Okay.
So, and we discovered Journey probably 2 years later.
Okay,
After-
2000. Is that right?
So early, when Pastor Donaldson was here.
Exactly, Dan.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I've been here
So-
since then.
So were we meeting at this location?
Yes, I've
Had already relocated?
I've only been here at this location.
Yeah.
I've never been at the other location.
Yeah, so a little bit about our history. For the first 30 years, we were on the other side of Bear Lake. Lakeview Christian Church relocated here in 2002, got renamed at the time to Journey Christian Church. So you've only been to this
This
facility.
one. So, and how we found out about this church is Robin Hudspeth.
Really?
My husband is a business auditor, does audits on businesses for their commercial insurance, and her husband has a home business. And so he was at her home doing the books with them or going over doing his job, and she invited him to her. She invited him to her church.
How about that?
And when he came home and he told me the name of it, we had just received a postcard in the mail from Journey, and I had tossed it in the trash because my husband doesn't church hop. We were going to another church. We don't visit other churches. We stick where we are. And so I went digging through the trash, and I go, was it this church? And he says, yeah, that's the name of it. So we came in, we visited, and after about a couple of months, this became our church home.
Wonderful.
So we've been here.
I
We've
didn't
been
know
here ever
you.
since.
Yeah, you go back quite a ways then.
Been here ever since. Yep.
Good.
Robin, thank you. You're a rock star. Your family's a rock star.
Robin
Yes.
Hudspeth and her
Yeah.
family is the one that got
So
us here.
good. That's great.
So you joined staff part time. When
That
what
was
year?
much later.
Yeah, it was
I became a
here.
volunteer.
I was here then.
I can't remember if I was actually working for Journey or serving at Journey, but I started serving soon after I got here
Okay.
in the cafe.
In the cafe.
It was ran by Jade Thompson back then, and it was in the area we call the living room in the atrium.
Right.
That's where the cafe used to
Exactly,
be, and
it
it used to
was.
be a bookstore.
Yep.
And we had half of it. We had one little cappuccino machine and one little smoothie machine, and we had cinnamon rolls back then.
Now thanks for
Yeah,
reminding
we
me
had
of that. I
cinnamon
remember
rolls,
that.
and that's what the cafe sold was the cinnamon rolls, the smoothies, and the cappuccinos. And then we had a bookstore. The whole other half of that area was just shelves of books.
I can't believe I would be the guy that got rid of cinnamon rolls. Tell me I didn't do that.
No.
Oh,
well,
okay.
Well,
I didn't get rid of cinnamon rolls, so
No, what-
cinnamon rolls are like my love language.
what had happened was it just became hard to keep up with volunteers because
Yeah.
the volunteers had to come in at 7 a.m. and
to
bake
make
them
them.
fresh and ice them. And getting constant
Everybody got to
volunteers.
sacrifice a little bit for Jesus. You know,
yeah,
I
if
mean,
we need to do a
that's-
volunteer push
they
for
need
some
to come
cinnamon
in
rolls.
and do that. You
So
know,
they had to do that. So then we ended up going to package cinnamon rolls at some
Oh.
point. And then, of course, those didn't sell. And then
No.
they were spoiling. And then so it just eventually kind of died down. But yeah, I've been with the cafe as a volunteer for that long.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, now, and then we opened when we kind of did a remodel. We kind of repurposed a corner, and I'm talking about the Apopka campus. We repurposed a corner for the cafe over there.
Yeah. So the cafe moved to outside that little enclosed area and moved into the atrium. And Mike Lombardo became the lead of the cafe. And he was a chef as well. So his job kept him super busy. And I got a call from Roddy and said, could you just give the church like 5 hours a week? And I was like, 5 hours, I can do that, just to help Mike out whenever he needs it. So I would come in and help Mike either during the week or on the weekends. And eventually that's how it started. And then at some point, Mike moved to another church. And they said, okay, it's you. And I'm like, oh no, I can't do what Mike did. But
and you do a lot. I mean,
so
we rattled off a couple things, but your role is a big role. You have a lot of moving parts, a lot of different special events, especially before COVID, and whether it's a volunteer event that we'll put together. And I mentioned that she does it in Pinterest, so she doesn't just make food. She makes an event. I mean, it not only the food comes out good, but you decorate everything. And that just goes to show how you do things. You just do things above and beyond. You do it with love. You do it with grace. And we just love your heart and your ministry, and you have a huge impact here.
How I got started doing that was, again, after my father had passed and my mother, we were doing the Saturday night cooking thing at my house. My mom said, I'll pay you to put some dinner parties together for me. And so she started paying me when she wanted to have her girlfriends over for lunch or something. So then I would make a menu on the computer. I would rename the room. We called her dining room the Rose Room. We're going to seat you in the Rose Room. And of course, then I would decorate it. And then if it's the Rose Room, it's got to have pink tablecloths. And so that's kind of how that started. And so every single time I started to cook, then it had to have a vibe. It had to have a meaning.
Almost like a theme.
Yeah.
All of these events have like a theme and a color scheme. One of our core behaviors for our staff, we have like 6 core behaviors that I have taught and we regularly teach on for our staff. But one of them is this, and one of them we think of Stacy the most for, and it's this: go the extra mile with a smile.
Yeah.
And if you know Stacy, you know that is exactly what she does. She goes the extra mile. She doesn't just do that. She does that. She goes above and does it with a smile and with pleasantness. And that's just, that's a blessing, Stacy.
It's so good. Now, this past Sunday, I saw my daughter. It was Valentine's Day. And my teenage daughter's walking around with this red or pink drink that I've not seen before. And I took it and I just want to smell. I'm like, what is it? What is this? So I asked her and she said, well, I got it from the cafe. And tell us a little bit about, because there's some things about the cafe not everybody knows.
The cafe has come a long way.
Yeah. So what drink was that she had?
It was the Red Velvet Cold Brew.
Yeah. So
that's
you
our
didn't even
drink.
know we
Let's
had
just
a
stop right now and
Red
get one.
Velvet
Cold
Brew.
I'm
that
ready.
was our drink. So we started a coffee drink of the month. But when I first started working with the cafe or serving there, the only drinks that we sold were sodas and energy drinks. We had like the Monsters and the, those Red Bulls and all that in the fridge. And so I start putting my mindset in the mind of a mom who's coming from the children's ministry. Would she want to come up to the cafe? And I start putting myself in the position of, would this person want to come up to the cafe and buy this? So we started slowly changing it out to waters and flavored waters and iced tea and green tea. And we started really diversifying the drink selections. And I've always tried to have that mix of healthy. If the healthy mom comes up to the cafe and then the mom who says, I'm just going for it. I've always wanted that range in there. But what we've tried to do over the last 3 years or so is try to be more responsive to the guests and taking suggestions on what they want. And coffee drinks are just kind of the boom or the biggest thing now. So we've started a coffee club. So buy 7 drinks, get the 8th 12-ounce free.
There you go.
Can't beat that. And then we've started planning a special flavor of the month. So last month it was chocolate chip cookie dough.
Oh, wow.
So we had chocolate chip cookie dough frappuccinos. Wow. So this month is Red Velvet.
In December, we had, I can't remember, but we kind of sampled a little bit of them in December.
Oh, we did. We had like peppermint mocha.
Peppermint mocha.
Yeah.
And we had gingerbread.
Yeah.
Oh, those were so good.
Those were.
We had pumpkin pie in November.
Yep.
There you go. So
now this is a like sneak peek. So if this is where you heard it first. So if you already know where you're going for March.
Ooh.
I do.
All right.
Oh, do you want to, is it okay to unveil?
It's going to be Irish cream.
Irish cream. Ooh,
cream.
That sounds good.
That's what we've already got.
Cold brew? Is that like Irish cream?
You can do it cold brew, but we're going to specialize on the iced latte.
There you go. So you
heard it here
Dustin
first.
Broke it right here. Heard it here first. You have a lot of people that help you, that serve. You started out serving the cafe, and there's a team of people that serve with you.
it's not as big as you think in terms of for events.
Yeah.
And every event that you do, you always stand up in the room and say, I'd like to thank Stacy and her team. And I'm going, hello.
I want to thank Stacy. Yeah.
But now with the cafe, I am super blessed. I have really been blessed in the find of Jennifer Mawson. She has just exceeded my wildest dreams and brought things to the table that I am not strong in. So her view, her take on the cafe has really just helped us grow. So she is now even doing the scheduling and recruiting the volunteers. And since the pandemic era began, we have, of course, lost most of our volunteers, but we have a small core group, and Jennifer works with them and helps me love on them. And they are rock stars right now in the cafe, and they're invested. And so
and we've added at the Apopka campus a separate coffee cart. So, there's a volunteer over there. There's volunteers at the cafe. I mean, these folks are just doing, just as Stacy said, they're stellar. However, part of what happens as we're rebuilding, that's what we're talking about. Every church is rebuilding. Every church is in reset mode. So we're rebuilding volunteers.
Yes.
So it's an opportunity for you. If you have any interest in having fun and serving and helping make people happy by giving them some food, serving them that way, you need to contact Stacy. We'll put her email contact up here so you can let her know, and she'll get you connected.
Yeah, and I guarantee there's a lot of you watching. You have the gift of hospitality.
That's
and at the same time, that's it.
It's the gift of hospitality, and it's the gift to share something with a stranger.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things that I did even pre-COVID was when we had the communion prep team here in the back. And we would have to create all the stacks of the cups and the trays. So we started a program called Praying for a Stranger. And when you think about that, every single cup in that tray is a soul. And that person, we don't know where they're going to sit. They might be sitting in the back here in the last row, and they are going to drink what you prepared for them. So we would have the volunteers in the back. We had a whole Pray for a Stranger program where they would pray over each cup. And then you think about who is going to drink that cup and what's their story. Is it someone who just went through a divorce? Is it someone whose child just passed? Is it somebody, what's going on with that cup, that soul, that person who's going to take that communion? And so we would pray over the strangers.
How cool is that? And just to let you know that every time that you take communion, you've already been prayed for.
Yes.
And that's what I love about you, Stacy. You take something and you give it vision, you give it purpose, and you've been blessed and you didn't even know that. And so thank you. Keep going.
So that was one of my favorite things to do. And I know communion's changed a little bit, but every cup represents someone in one of those seats out there.
I love it.
That has a need.
So
Amen.
I like to think that we have some part in that, even though it's behind the scenes. And kind of being behind the scenes has been my safe zone. Being a chef, you're in the kitchen, you're off to the side, no one really sees you all the time. This job has forced me out of the kitchen, so to speak, and out front more. And that's been the scariest thing of my life, is to come out from behind that comfort zone. So I've been challenged, and even with our maps, with our maps.
She's getting
maps
on to me.
is our ministry.
Y'all see that? She almost hit me.
Maps is our ministry action plan. Okay, so
these are our quarterly goals that I asked the staff to come up with to try to. We want to move the ball forward.
Yes, and coming out of my comfort zone, sort of. I call it coming out of the kitchen. Has been challenging for me because I'm good back there. I'm good hiding. I'm good in the back cooking for people and serving that way. But now to come to the forefront and serve kind of outside of the kitchen a little bit is been my growth pattern. But one of my favorite things to do right now is to cook for the Rooted group leaders.
Oh, that's good.
And the reason why is because I look at it as my opportunity to pour into the leaders. Okay? So if I can prepare a really thoughtful meal, I'm really careful in It has to be a healthy protein. It's got to be a balanced meal. It's got to have just a little
We
snack
can't have
to
any
it.
hangry leaders.
No, yeah, exactly. And if you're hungry, you're distracted, and Satan can get you away from your purpose. So I feel my job is to pour into those leaders so that they can then go and pour into their groups, who are, eventually will go and pour out into the community.
That's so good.
So you've added a new layer to food services that you're doing. It's an online thing called Cooking with Chef Stacey?
Yes.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, what we were trying to do was to reach the volunteers and some of the guests who have been serving with us but haven't returned since the pandemic.
Yeah.
And trying to find new and creative ways to be in their home with them, to connect with them. So, of course, I love food, and Cassie was suggesting to me, let's do a little cooking segment. So I got inspired by what you shared with us at Staff Luncheon.
Okay.
And you said we were talking about mental health.
Yeah.
And focusing on mental health in 2021. So I started Googling what foods, I love when food can be a medicine to you. I started Googling what foods improve your mood, what foods can boost your mental health. So I came up with a list of foods that boost your endorphins. And so we're going to call the series Good Mood Foods.
But the next one is going to be in March?
It's going to be in March. It's going to be.
You started for volunteers, but it's open to anybody now, right?
It can be open to anyone, but we started
anybody.
it trying to just reach our volunteers that we don't get to see in person. So we're trying to keep that connection with them.
Yeah.
All right. Good Mood Foods with Chef Stacey. I love it. Stacey, let's do, as we kind of get close to wrapping up here, you talked about kind of coming out of hiding a little bit. So I'm going to take a little personal turn to some things here. Is that okay?
Yes.
You said you grew up in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you come into a relationship with Jesus?
In Las Vegas. Okay, I'm not going to cry here. I did not have a happy childhood. I did not have one of those childhoods with just great family vacation memories, and I had an abusive childhood. I had a father who loved alcohol, maybe a little too much, and had a very, very challenging childhood. Mm-hmm. So as I went off to college, all that internal baggage, all that internal turmoil just kind of bubbled out. And I was constantly seeking relief, looking for love, looking for happiness in all the wrong places. And of course, I was at a gym working out, and someone said to me, "You need to come to my church." And at first I just kind of ignored him, and that it kept sticking in my head, and he kept inviting me. And so I did eventually go to church a few times. And really one day, this is going to sound crazy, but there was an earthquake in California. I lived in Nevada, but you could feel the earthquake all the way in Nevada. I was in my bed, and it felt as if someone was shaking my bed and pushing my bed. And it woke me up at 5 a.m. And this is going to sound maybe crazy to some people, but I felt like it was God. And he was saying, "It's time. Get up. Come on. Get up. Come to me." And I literally got dressed, went to church, and I was late for church that day, but I came right at the end of service. The church that I went to had where you walked up to the front to give your life to Christ. The moment I walked in that door, that's what they were doing. So I didn't even sit down.
So you were right on time.
I was right on time. So I came straight up to the front, and that's how I...
And here's the thing. It's not crazy. As a matter of fact, we just got to hear this past weekend
exactly
at Apopka at our 9:30 service. We heard a very similar story with a young lady who gave her life to Christ, got baptized, and everybody's story seems a little crazy because that's God working, and he'll use anything from an earthquake. He'll do whatever, and I absolutely love that. Love hearing your story. That's so good.
Stacey, when you and Rufus came to Journey, I just am trying to go back to 2001, probably still predominantly white congregation at the time, and you've seen the diversity grow at Journey, and you've seen us wrestle with those things over the years as well. And one of the things that I said about Journey, continue to say about Journey is the church I always hoped God would let me pastor. And a lot of that has to do with the diversity that we have here, that we are from every tribe and tongue and nation, and that the church on earth should look like what the church is going to look like in heaven. Yeah. And so as you came, I know you just personally shared with me, you were the first Black family in your neighborhood.
Yes, that is true.
When you moved to Apopka, right?
Yes, but how I decided to join Journey was my husband and I had prayed and talked about this early in our marriage, that we wanted to be a part of a diverse church. Okay. We didn't want to be a part of an all-white church or an all-black church. Gotcha. We wanted a church with that had a colorful array of people in it. And we were sitting here after Robin had invited us. We came a couple of times, but we were sitting over here, and the gentleman who was doing the music that day shared a testimony on stage. And he said that he had went away to one of the Carolinas or somewhere, back to a wedding to be with some of his old college roommates and friends. And in all the picture taking, the guys were doing something with their hands, doing a 3 or something. And they kept tucking their thumbs in their pants, and they kept doing the 3. And he finally asked his one of his friends, he says, "What does that stand for? I see you guys keep doing that little 3 symbol." And he said it stood for the KKK.
Wow.
And so he said he was so taken aback that these were the friends and that the college roommates that he had, and how he had to make a decision to part ways with them, and how he came and he shared this on this stage right here about how he knew that God created all people, and that meant people of all different colors. Yeah. And he wanted to be a part of a church that loved people of all different colors and embraced people of all different colors. So he had to separate himself from that friend group. And we were sitting over there. Wow. During that. And I said, my husband and I had been talking about, we want to be a part of a church that had a diverse group of attendees. And so we made our decision to start attending Journey after that.
And as much as we love where we're at, we still got a ways to go. Yeah, we're not there.
In all walks of life.
But here's the thing. It takes leaders like yourself to say, even with long time ago and even now, even though we're not where we need to be, I want to be a part of the solution, and I want to be on the front lines, and I want to help. And that's what I love about you, all the way from back then in 2000 to now, is you're just somebody that's helping solve things and lead things, and can't imagine Journey without you. I'm so grateful for you. And I'll tell you this, there is somebody that you have the gift of hospitality, and you've been praying, God, would you use me? God, would you do something in and through me? Here's your answer. Seriously, she would love to be able to talk with you more, and I'm sure there's a spot on the team for you.
Well, Stacy, thank you so much we could go on.
Yes.
It's such a great conversation. I think you can tell that Stacy is a woman of thoughtful deliberation, depth, and just God's doing some things and has been doing some things underneath the surface. And we just continue to see you shine and continue to see you step out and lead in some significant ways. Journey's a better place because you're here, Stacy. Yep. And we so appreciate you and your family. And again, if you love to connect in serving in food services, hospitality, reach out to Stacy. We all cheer the ministry of food, and it is a ministry. And how many times do we see in the book of Acts and throughout, eating is essential to discipleship in a lot of ways.
Come on, Pastor.
To the point.
I ain't going to reject that.
Hey, listen, if you go back and read Acts chapter 1, I didn't even preach on this. You go back and read Acts chapter 1, it says in that 40-day period, Jesus ate with the disciples. So here's what that tells me. The resurrected Jesus was eating, and when we see him, we're going to be like him. So in our resurrection body, come on now, we're going to have some holy food. We're going to have some heaven food. I'm looking forward to that.
That's going to be your biggest gig.
There
is
you
in
go.
heaven.
Amen. Hey, thanks, Stacy, for joining us. Thank you for joining us. Continue on the Daily Acts journey with us. If you haven't watched it, day 17, pick that up. And Pastor Dustin and I look forward to being back with you again in Midweek Conversations. And we got a special guest that's going to share with us this weekend, one of our mission partners, Jeff Hancock, and he's going to be sharing with us an update of International Justice Mission, one of the biggest mission partners that Journey has. He's going to be with us, and he's going to continue the Daily Acts journey. So you're not going to want to miss, either on-site or online, being with us on the 21st. God bless you. Have a great week. And as always, we're loving the journey.